Hey, it's Chris. Apple's on a mission to get rid of leather from their accessories and product lineup, and the replacement they've come up with is called FineWoven. And as FineWoven products like these, an iPhone case and wallet, have made their way out in the public, it seems like the initial reaction, at least, has been mostly negative, taken as a whole. So today we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna go ahead and give you my take on FineWoven. And actually, I posted some pictures over on X when I got these, and nearly instantly it got almost 100,000 views, so there's a lot of interest in this subject. Before we get to my opinion though, let's talk about the lay of the land here. What appears to be the case here, sorry, I couldn't help it, is that Apple seems to have solved a problem that for most customers didn't really exist in the first place. In creating FineWoven, it seems like Apple might have asked themselves, not what do customers want or what have they come to expect from us, but what do we, meaning Apple, want our customers to want, and then they went ahead and made that. And the thing is, that actually wouldn't be all that big of an issue if the product that was replacing leather was objectively better by leaps and bounds, but that actually doesn't seem to be obvious at all. But what's almost weirder is that in Apple's recent Mother Nature ad, they almost seem to be implying that if you don't also suddenly turn your back on liking leather products like Apple has, then maybe you're sort of cringy or you should be shunned or given dirty looks.
We're also phasing out leather in our iPhone cases.
What about Brando over there? They phasing you out too?
Oh.
What's next?
But to be clear, I have run into people online saying that they really actually like FineWoven. They're glad that Apple's headed this direction. And it's possible that the people who are unhappy with it just happen to be the loudest. And I haven't really run into anybody that says they don't like the looks of FineWoven, at least before it gets scratched or stained. You know, when it's brand new and clean, you can see how some people would like it. So I don't want to make it out that everyone out there 100% dislikes FineWoven and it's the worst thing that ever happened. But you do see professional reviewers like Apple Insider saying it feels cheap. They've got durability concerns, it attracts lint and stains. The Verge says all that and more. They say it's not very premium, shows immediate wear, highly susceptible to scratches, and it's just too expensive for what you get. Who would have thought something like this would be so controversial, right? On social media too, you see people talking about misalignment issues with the bottom port area here. In this picture by Stephen Hackett, for instance, you can see that the screw is visible next to the USB-C port there, which any reasonable person could just be like, well, that's really not a big deal, is it? And I think that would largely be true for an Android manufacturer, for instance, but it's not the kind of quality that people have come to expect from the Apple that has always made a big deal about absolutely nailing the tiniest possible details that most people would never notice. Basic Apple guy weighed in on X and he said it doesn't feel cheap necessarily, but it also doesn't really feel premium either. Which is one thing that leather cases and accessories have always had going for them, a premium feel. So if you're gonna replace them, if you're gonna kick them out of your lineup, then you need something else that's at least going to feel as premium. Michael here, I think, nails it when he says it just doesn't feel objectively better than leather, even if it's not bad. And then you've got Mr. Aaron Zallo saying him and his whole family, they just couldn't stand the way that it felt. So lots and lots of opinions out there. And again, not all negative. Want to be sure and point that out. In either case, probably not life-changing. Although if you're looking for something life-changing, you can check out my course, Learning to Be Productive. That's actually how a real customer described the course recently. And for just a couple more days, it's 50% off. A big sale like this is not gonna happen again, maybe ever. So I'm gonna link it up down below for you in case you wanna weave some productivity into your Apple ecosystem, even if you're not gonna use a FineWoven case. Now, the recent macro shot I posted of FineWoven came from the iPhone's macro lens, but iFixit did a great teardown where they really took a close look at the FineWoven fabric. So here it is at 52 times magnification, and then again at 490 times magnification, kind of cool to see that. And what they found was pretty interesting. This material, it turns out, is very similar to what a premium jacket from maybe Patagonia would be made out of. And they found that the scratches that people are complaining about, they don't actually break the fibers, they cause light to reflect irregularly. So when this material gets scratched, it's not that it's not tough, but it does change the way that your eyes end up perceiving it because the light is going to bounce off it differently. They also did a hot sauce test and an oil test. See, I'm not really into all this destructive testing. I let other people do it and then I talk about it. And they found that those did leave some stains, although coffee wasn't too bad, which would be good for me because I drink crazy amounts of coffee every day around all my Apple gear. But what's kind of crazy is that testing then led them to recommend using a durable water repellent spray to make the case more resistant to staining and liquid. Which is kind of funny because again, leather is gonna be more wicking away of moisture and these sorts of materials just by design, by default. So that leads me to my thoughts on this whole situation. So I'll talk about the material itself first, and then we'll talk about Apple's handling of this whole getting rid of the leather thing as a side issue. If you zoom into this photo that I took right after unboxing this wallet here, you can see there's some lint and some dots of stuff stuck on there just right away, immediately. So I will say I've noticed they do seem to attract stuff more than a leather accessory would, for instance. By its nature, by design, the leather just doesn't attract stuff. Stuff doesn't stick to it in the same way. But I will say it's unfair to expect something not to scratch, FineWoven or many other products, because leather too scratches. So the thing that this is replacing was also prone and susceptible and not impervious to scratching. However, a lot of people like the way that leather wears over time. They look forward to seeing that patina and that wear. It's kind of part of what gives a leather product its character over time, as it's yours, as you own it, as you go through life with it. And I don't think people are gonna feel the same way about this product. They want this to stay pristine, and that's the difference. And the early indications are that it probably isn't going to remain pristine and in perfect shape. So it's a nuanced discussion, but I can see how people would have concerns over the durability here, especially considering the premium price. And also because this is a purely synthetic material made by none other than Apple, so it's not unreasonable, I don't think, to expect something that's gonna have a bit more of a wow factor in the durability department. Now, interestingly, from a distance, I think if you didn't know what this was and you just saw it, you could almost think like, oh, maybe that's a leather case. That's not the case at all when you see it up close, obviously, or feel it. And I actually can see how some people would choose this over leather, even though I personally wouldn't. And that's why I think it'd be really interesting if Apple had left both leather and FineWoven accessories and products on the marketplace at the same time, so that we could actually have sales numbers and see what did customers actually prefer versus what did Apple give them the option to buy in-house. And that is a big part of this conversation, actually, in-house, because a lot of people prefer to buy official Apple products, whether it's leather or FineWoven, whatever it is, from Apple. A lot of people like to just keep everything official, have all their accessories from Apple. And now they can't do that if they want that leather. And obviously, just because Apple isn't selling some leather accessories now, that doesn't mean that you can't find them or buy them. You have that choice. And in fact, I also tweeted out some really great options. I would say the top contenders are Nomad, Sandmark, Mujo, and Blackbrook. And actually let me know if you want me to do a video comparing them to help you pick out the actual best. But to summarize here, I would say some people do like the FineWoven, but judging by online conversation, it seems like more people don't than do. And simmering in the background, I think, aside from the materials, is the fact that some people are uncomfortable with Apple wanting to be the moral compass for their customers, rather than thinking customers are smart enough to make decisions on their own. Instead of just making really great products for their customers, maybe the products that customers are expecting or wanting or have come to expect, I think for a lot of people it feels like here's Apple saying, well, here's how we want you to act, here's what we want you to do, what we want you to buy. Especially in light of the early feedback that this product has gotten, it just feels so un-Apple-like. It's not objectively the best, but we want you to buy it. I tried to keep this nuanced. I know there's a lot of hot takes out there, but I would like to know what you think about this, or what are you going with as an alternative? Don't forget to check out the course. That sale is not gonna last long. A lot of people are getting both courses for the price of one, basically, because it's 50% off right now. Check out the newsletter. Check me out on x.com/dailytekk, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.